Welcome to Content Catalyst. In this episode, I have got Emma Walkinshaw, who is a Content Catalyst member. And joining me today, we are going to be talking about showing up online and our confidence and how it affects us sharing our message and what we do. Now, Emma is founder of Embody Me program, 21 Minutes of Morning Magic. She is a yoga instructor and transformational coach. She has also just released a book and is the author of 365 Days of Morning Magic. And she's also a podcast host of Celebrate a Sister. How did I go with all of that, Emma?
Well done, Deb. Hello.
Welcome to Content Catalyst. Hey, we have been chatting off air just before about your elevator pitch of what you do, and we started to talk about how you empower women. I'd love to hear more about what you do.
Thanks, Deb. It's an absolute honour and pleasure to be here. And we've been working together for a few months now, which has been tremendous. So thank you. And hopefully I get a chance to share with everyone today how you've changed things in my business and showing up online. But yes, what do I do? What do I do in the world? So as you mentioned, I am a yoga teacher and I had a yoga studio for almost 4 years. So during that time of being a yoga studio owner, I worked with women running workshops and retreats. So the retreats are all about wellness, but really adventure. So I've run retreats here in Australia, Byron Bay, and also India. So transformation just naturally happens when you're on retreat. The minute someone says yes, particularly to a place like India, transformation begins right there. So that's one way I help women is, of course, through retreats. The other way is I do one-on-one coaching, and it really is in the area of body image, body confidence. As I mentioned, I'm a yoga teacher, but I'm a size 14 to 16 yoga teacher. So you could say that's not the normal yoga teacher, or what media or social media often portrays about yoga is that it is someone who's quite slender and super flexy. When you can be in any shape body and super flexy, you can be in a small body and not flexible.
Yes.
So that's the work I've done a lot with women too, around embracing their body. And of course, my signature program that you mentioned, Embody Me, is lots of practical tools and mindset shifts that really help us start to question and look at all of the beliefs that we have grown up with around beauty standards. What are these beauty standards? Where have they come from? And when did we decide that that's what a beautiful woman was or not, or beautiful person is or is not? So that's another way I do it. And our morning magic, which is connected to the book, which you were on this morning with me, Deb, in a beautiful free group. So the morning magic is really about arriving on your mat in the morning for the first 21 minutes of your day, which is a little bit of yoga, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of journaling, or like I call it, flowetry. And this is purely to tap into your intuition and your voice of wisdom first thing in the morning. Because as we know, we step into the day and your day often will have its way with you, or we start our day checking our emails, our to-do list, responding to social media messages maybe, and we haven't had a chance to actually tune into ourselves and ask, what do I need today? What do I intend to do today? How do I want to feel? All of those questions. So the 21 minutes of morning magic I came up with because it does not have to be a long time. We don't need to sit cross-legged for an hour or 2 hours.
I love that so much about that program, because I feel that that's where a lot of people give up before they start, of going, I don't have an hour to do a yoga session.
Yeah, I don't have time. And you and I both understand that being mothers, or, having businesses, everything else feels like a priority before you do. But we know just spending that 21 minutes of time, just setting your compass for the day, just getting really clear on what is a focus without having our nervous system blown out straight away by an endless to-do list or an email that has us in a spin. And then the book, of course, goes along with the Morning Magic group, as there is a
Mhm.
theme each day, a journal prompt, and some
Love it.
movement. So that is what I do, Deb.
Love that so much. So just to rewind a moment, so you mentioned that you help women and that's
Mm,
specifically your target people that you help.
yeah,
And I mean, obviously in a yoga clinic that you generally help everybody who wants to come to yoga. And
yeah,
you know what yoga studios around where I am, it's a mix of male and females. How did you end up going, actually, I want to help women in particular? And I know because we've worked together, you do help women specifically over a certain age as well. Tell me how that.
yeah. I feel like it just found me. And yes,
Yeah.
I do connect with women. I do feel that I resonate and I understand women. And I
Mm.
love men, don't get me wrong, but I
Yeah.
don't believe what I have to offer is really attractive to men. It's more women. I feel I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah. I mean, anyone
I
can do morning magic and yoga and
yeah.
journaling and meditation. However, like if you look at your Embody Me program, that is about empowering women, right?
It is. It is. And I just like to work with women. I feel really comfortable with women. I feel like I speak their language and they
Mhm,
speak mine. So
mhm.
it's and there's lots of people out there that probably work with both sexes, but for me,
Sure.
I feel that just women is my market, and
Yeah.
usually around that 35 to 55, or maybe,
Okay.
there's a little bit of give and take there, but I would say that is my main,
Area
yeah,
of where
main
people
area.
have gravitated to you. So in
Yeah.
that, why that demographic do you think needs help in our body beliefs? What are we challenged by that you go, I really feel that, and we spoke just before off air, is diet culture and beauty standards.
Yeah. Well, I feel the women in our age group, perhaps born in the 70s, we
Mhm,
had very well meaning mothers and grandmothers who
mhm,
raised us with all of these crazy diets, whether it be the Woman's Weekly summer body
mhm.
diet, to the Atkins, to the shake diet, to the soup diet, to the cabbage diet. We had it
Yep,
all, and we were all raised. A lot of us were raised with things like Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig. I know
yep.
I personally, Mum took me to Jenny Craig at 14, and then I
Wow,
was at Weight Watchers at 16. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and Mum and I talk about it now, and
Okay, of
Mum was just a really loving, well-meaning mum, and I told her that
course.
I'm fat and I wanna go to I need to do something about it, so she just facilitated that. But it
Right.
was always spoken about in our family.
Yeah,
Everybody's body was discussed.
yeah.
And the just the stakes were high, I guess you could say. So for women who were
Mm,
born in the 70s, even 60s, 70s, we've all had a pretty strong influence from our mothers and our grandmothers, and all the conversations around us. And then I also feel like it's the young generation. I have got a niece who is 25,
mm,
and she was actually on my podcast, the Accelerator Sister podcast, and we spoke about her experience and her body image experience. And even at 25, when I had this notion that perhaps with social media now we are getting to see lots of different bodies, that was shifting. But here's the
mm.
thing with that, Deb, your algorithm has to find its way to you. Your
Yeah,
algorithm, unless you are exposing yourself to all different body shapes, you still are exposed to a diet culture now that's been wrapped in this beautiful green smoothie called the wellness industry. But
yeah.
it is still diet culture.
Yeah, and it's
Mm,
really interesting 'cause I was on, Facebook recently, and I don't know, again, the algorithm found me, and it was all of this, like, advertising from, back in the '50s of, like, and it was a male voiceover of women doing their exercise and how you need to look for your husbands, and this is what, how a well-groomed lady would act, and I'm laughing at this, but this was the messaging and the
yeah,
advertising that was being sent out to women, so, of course, that was my mother, she was receiving that kind of messaging. And of course, they're going to pass it down to us in our generation. And what's now interesting is how young it starts in because of the access to social media of what teenagers, tweens and things can, get obsessed about. Like I saw a young girl, like she was a tween. I don't know how old, but let's say she was 13 because she looked similar to my son's age. And she was coming out of the nail salon with her, mum the other day. And I was just like, wow, that really says everything. She's, doing this. And I'm like for me as a 13-year-old back then, I was like roller skating and, it was like putting gel in your hair, but that's how we've evolved, I guess. Now, in saying that, what I'm interested to know because when we've worked together, we've identified our beliefs and limiting beliefs as women, which can hold us back. Mindset. Talk to me about mindset and confidence, because I feel in what I do as a video coach and to help people show up online, a lot of women, and we're talking our generation as well, aren't comfortable on camera. And so it takes a lot more effort for our generation to turn up on camera than say a 20-year-old, because we didn't grow up with a phone in our hand like that younger generation has. And I speak to women all the time about what holds them back. And it always comes back to that judgment of who's judging me. I'm worried about what they're going to think. So what advice would you say to those women about how can you work with mindset and beliefs?
It's going to be different for everyone. And I guess I can only speak from my own experience. It is just practice, showing up and practice. But the mindset of that isn't that easy. It isn't that easy. But when you have, I feel, if I can speak from my own experience, when you feel that you have a message and value for someone, it's not about you, it's about them. And I love the saying, if not now, when? If not me, who?
Yeah.
So in the early days, my mindset was that it was like, I can sit on the sidelines here and want to add to this conversation. I don't even have to be the expert. I can just add to this conversation, or I can not, but will I regret that? And the answer was yes. So then from there going, well, what's the mindset? How can I now show up? And I feel, Deb, being part of your content catalyst, it's getting the knowledge and the tools. So when you do show up, you avoid that I'm going to make a fool of myself because you're prepared.
Yeah.
So in the preparation, that shifts the mindset. It's not like, oh gosh, I'm just going to turn the camera on and give it a go. And what if I embarrass myself? Through the work that I've done with you and the work that, we've done, we're also in a business group together. That bit of education and knowledge empowers you to say, well, if I am going to show up, I'm not going to make a fool of myself because I've prepared to the best of my ability. And then you do it, you get some feedback, or you will always critique yourself, I feel, but you get to a point where you say, okay, I could do better, but it wasn't that terrible. And I got some nice feedback and I helped someone. So the mindset for me is the preparation, which helps that. And there are some days where, no, you don't feel like showing up on camera. And exactly the message you shared with us this week, which has been brilliant, was build your content folder
Library
or file, which was your message this week, Deb, which is tremendous. Build that so then the weeks where you don't want to show up, you have got some stuff there, some good quality stuff that you did plan and you did put some time into, and it's okay to go out because you're quite proud of it.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because my mother, she has this thing that, you always go out impeccably groomed and, your hair and makeup's got, done and I actually, filming days, my hair and makeup's done. I'm dressed, in what gives me great energy. But I also show up on camera deliberately in my hat and my active wear for that reason, to go, I want to give everyone else the permission to show up as they are as well. And one of the things I think what's really interesting is women versus men in this instance. Is a lot of creators online that I see, a lot of YouTube creators, for example, if they're men, and especially studying videography, there was a lot of male people that I followed. They would turn up in their hoodie and their cap, press record, and off they go. But as a woman, I find when I have a big recording day that I need to get mentally prepared, and I need to do my hair and my makeup and put something on that gives me energy and vibrance. So it's more preparation. And I feel that with that more preparation can sometimes come procrastination.
Yes. Yes. I would agree with that. Yeah. And I do like what you said there, Deb. I do feel it is allowing our audience or our people to see us in all different facets. So showing up anyway, even if, and yes, it is lovely to have the hair and the makeup and the nice clothes on because it's great for your energy and great for your mindset. But it's also okay to show up when you have some inspiration, a great message to share, and you're on your morning walk.
Yeah,
That's
which
okay
I do.
too. Yes, you
I'm like, press
do.
record.
Yeah. Do you like what I did there?
And then
'Cause
I
that's
look,
what
and I
you
look
do.
at the live afterwards, and I'm like, a bit dodgy there, Deb, but that's okay, because I'm like, it's more about if we got up in the morning and went for a walk together, that's how you're going to see me. And I
Yeah.
think that's the shift. I think is when you realize that we're just having a one-to-one conversation on the other side of the camera on
Yeah.
social media, then you can remove the thing of going, I have to be, impeccable for me to
Yeah.
show up. It's okay to just turn up as I would if I went to the gym.
Yeah. I also love what a friend said to me once. I was critiquing myself and I said, "Oh gosh, have a look at me." And she said to me, "But you don't understand. That's Emma. That's what we know you and you look like that because
Yeah.
we look from our eyes out and we don't look at
Mhm.
ourselves. When we do then see ourselves, we're almost like shocked, which is
Yeah.
absurd. But
Yeah.
but like my friend said to me, but that's you. That's what you look like because we don't
Yeah.
see ourselves. We don't see our facial expressions. We don't see how we look and what we do because we're
Mm.
looking the opposite way out. So it's almost crazy that we get so freaked out when we see ourselves on camera because that's what everyone already knows what we look like. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it's the funniest thing, and it's shifting. I think that's the other mindset shift that you need to. No one's surprised here apart from you. Everyone
Yeah.
knows what you look like already.
So true, right?
It's crazy, but this is the
And then
this is the game.
yeah. So confidence, how do we so we got preparation when we, know what we're doing, we know what we're saying, we think about our ideal person that we're communicating to on the other side of the camera, and we know how to use the tech. What's the next thing of limiting beliefs that do you think stops us with confidence?
I like to call it our itty bitty shitty committee and recognizing when one of those pops its head up. And it's the same old, same old. It's almost like we hit play on this same voice or this same member of our committee that says, "You look ugly. Who do you think you are?" And it's being really curious about that and getting aware and going, "Oh, that old chestnut." And just calling yourself out because we can let that run and we can
Mm,
never show up or not do the video that day or not reach out to that person. We can
mhm,
stop it. But at some point, we've got to become aware. At some point, we've got to question ourselves and raise our awareness around that, or else we would just never show up and things would just go along. We'd have regrets and not do the thing.
mm,
So I guess you could say it's getting to know your inner critic. And if it's the
mhm,
same old inner critic, you're letting it run the show. So the
mm,
opposite to the inner critic is your voice of wisdom. So we know the voice of wisdom is actually who we are. So each day it's the option when we go to do a video. Am I going to let my inner critic or my itty bitty shitty committee tell me not to? Or am I going to step into my voice of wisdom, who is the wise one that says, but you want to
mm.
help a lot of people?
Yeah.
And then again, like I said, by showing up and we do change people's perspectives, or we do give a tip, or we do share a tool, or we do just be that friend, it keeps you showing up then. So I guess confidence comes, I think I've said that twice though, Deb, but I think confidence comes from just keep going, just keep showing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always say you have to be courageous to get confident, and it
I
does take
love
that little
that.
bit of courage in the morning to go, "I've got this." My message of how I can help someone is more important than me being self-centered about how I look.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
yeah.
like when you serve, then you become less self-absorbed when you focus
Yes,
that way.
yes, yes. You said that so eloquently.
Mm.
Better than I did. But
No, but
that's yeah,
that's
that's
it. It's
I
like that's what
concur.
makes
Yeah,
you show up and go, you
yeah,
know, and time is the other thing when we create content as well that I find. So it's always about that confidence of going, okay, I've got to get in the right, mindset about what I'm gonna, get past my inner critic. And then you go, I've got to get confident, get the tools. Okay. But then it's so easy for us to go, oh, I've run out of time, can't do it.
yeah.
And that's why for me, I'll do a lot of lives for that reason, and
Yes.
often when I do lives, it's often with me a cap on and in my active wear or in the
Yeah,
kitchen cooking something or out in a run because I'm like, there's no excuse now. Like, I have to live
yeah,
and breathe it of going, you just gotta show up. Like, it's more
yeah,
important to just show up. And
yeah,
what's really interesting is we were talking the other day, and we always have to eat our own, like, medicine. It's like we were
yes.
talking and we were having a session the other day, and you were about to do your book launch. I'm like, "What are you wearing?" And it's like, "Oh, why don't you do capture?" Because again, I'm all about documenting what we do because people love to see, how we help people, like, show, don't sell. It's like we show. And, you were talking about I said, "Oh, if you do a live, help get people to help you decide what to wear for the day." And you're like, "I can't, my hair and makeup's not done." And it's like, that's okay. People still know you. It's like what you said, but that's how we see you anyway. Like, you still look beautiful. You're still amazing. And I loved that you actually pushed past that and actually did show up. So
Deb, that was just hilarious. The response I got from that, because people are curious and people do exactly that. That's who I am. I'm all conscious about, oh, hair, makeup. How can I do that? And your advice, go live, which is what I did. And I didn't watch it back because I don't need to
good.
watch it back.
No,
I
just
just
move on.
I just responded to all the messages and everyone was excited about the dress. And you're right, documenting your life and bringing people into it. And the beautiful thing was all of my community chose the dress that I wore to the book launch,
I love that.
which was fabulous.
I
So
love
you're
that
right. So that
so
was
much.
great coaching the other day too. And that's often what you need too, because you can stay in your own inner critic and never do live and the moment passes. Or you have somebody like yourself that says, you can do it. Come on, let's do
Yeah,
it. And I
yeah.
did. So thank you.
And, you had what I think is the most important thing is connection with your community and engagement.
Yeah, it
Just
was
by showing
lovely.
up, you had all this beautiful conversation happening that wouldn't happen
Yeah.
otherwise.
Yeah, that's it. And
Mm.
lots of people wanted to celebrate the book launch with me. There's people,
Yeah,
who didn't live here that was going, "Oh gosh, well wishes," and wanted to that are in the morning magic group and wanted to send well wishes and had their little vote on the dress. So it was fun. It was joyful. It was just
yeah.
joyful. Yeah.
And that's a really good example of how when we share what we do, it's not about like you weren't there going, "Hey, my book's." I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either of going, "Hey, my book's here." But it's like, how can you let people know that you're an author and you're about to do a book launch, which just shares what you do? And that was a really nice way of being able to create content, documenting what you do,
Yeah.
and also facing your own fears of what you teach. Embody Me, right? And like you
Yeah.
went head on into that. You faced that head on of going, actually, no, I've got to do the thing that I tell the people to do, right? It's like,
Yes. Yes. And I feel in my morning magic group, I go live 3 mornings a week and I have no hair, no makeup, but I feel like I'm in this
right?
protected little community and
Interesting.
that feels safe. And there's over 400 people in that group that see me with no hair and no makeup. And then for me then to be on that outer, like, it's interesting how it's in layers, but I feel like that beautiful little group and that
Yeah.
community has given me the courage, your beautiful word, courage
Mm,
to be confident to keep showing up, because I look at the the beautiful community I've built there and going, well, I want to reach more people because this is wonderful for us all. So that's given me confidence too. So it's back to that doing. And you pushed me out of my comfort zone the other day, but wonderful. But so wonderful. Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
there's the
firm.
cliff. I'm just going to push you off. Like,
Yes.
do it, do
You
it,
can,
do it, do it, do it.
but that's what you need sometimes is a firm talking to. And you gave me that. I was like, right, okay, this is what I'm doing.
And I think that's what you do as well is, maybe a bit more gentle than me, but, that's what you're doing in an Embody Me program, right? Is you're helping people to accept how they are so they can
Yeah.
live their best life, right? That's really what it's
Yeah.
about, isn't it?
Yeah. Because otherwise you live your life on the sidelines. And where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
Celebrating
None.
everybody else and
Yeah.
no fun in that.
And can
It's
I just say that the businesswomen that I've met in our community as well, like they're really smart, intelligent women who have got so much to give and help other people. And when I see them sitting on the sidelines of going, if only people knew what you did, like
yeah.
you need, like, if you show up and actually help those people, how much more will you have that ripple effect of changing other people's lives and helping other people? So I
Yeah.
think that's where that empowering people to have that acceptance of going, this is
Yeah.
how I am. This is how I am. This is how you see me face to face in person, and this is how you see me online. And
Yeah.
it's really interesting what you said then is that you feel it's a different mindset for you in your Facebook group as opposed to just being out there on Instagram land.
Yeah.
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 That's really
It's like,
interesting, actually. But
yeah,
you
the
know
little
what?
safety.
Sometimes it's just baby steps and you can show up. If you can show up there, then you can get the courage to then show up anyway,
Yeah.
elsewhere
Yeah.
for
And I
sure.
think that's the thing too, Debbie's refining your message. The more you talk about it, your inner thoughts and the inner work that you've done yourself and the inner process and tools and
Mm,
study you've done, the more you talk about it, the more articulate you can become and the more you can share it. But that
yeah,
doesn't happen unless you keep talking about it. It doesn't happen
yeah,
unless you keep showing up. So we want to hone our skill and be articulate and be able to flow our message. It doesn't happen if you don't show up.
mm,
That's the
yeah,
whole
interesting.
honing of the skill.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what's one thing if you were to, you know, give your wise wisdom to somebody on the other end of the camera here now or on the speaker here now of going, okay, I I want to show up online. I'm not quite. I'm too fat. I'm too old. I'm too wrinkly. I'm too this. I'm too whatever. What would be your one piece of advice that you can share of how women can embody themselves to share their message?
Good lighting does a world of
Oh,
difference.
hello. I'm
So
actually just looking at the camera now because it's an overcast day here and the sun just peeked through and my curtain is open a bit, so I've got this light coming in. Good lighting does wonders.
wonder. So even that fear of showing up, if you have given yourself every little trick in the book and tool so you feel you are presenting at your most beautiful, can I use that word, or at your most
Yeah,
best? Is that
yeah.
even the word? Is that a word, most best? If you're showing up with the most confidence front, and Deb, that's what you've taught us around. It's yes, it's your message, but it's the tools that you use as well, which is, your lighting and knowing how to do that. So all those little bits of education
Mm,
help you feel as comfortable as you can to deliver your message. But I feel like it's a lot in the education too. I feel
mm.
that's a big thing to, if you're going to show up, and we've talked quite a bit about, do you use a filter, don't you use a filter?
Oh,
And if we
I was
talk
gonna
about,
go there. I was about to go there. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I know that we both have had a stance that if putting a filter on helps you show up, do
Mm,
that.
mm,
But I'm in this place now where I'm trying not to use filters because I want
mm.
to embrace and embody who I am.
Yep.
And that for me, if I use filters, I'm going to be chasing filters until I'm 78.
Mm.
I'm always going to be chasing a filter. But if I can start to get more comfortable with not having a filter, because again, back to that, people see me go, that's Emma.
Mm.
They already know what I look like.
Mm.
However, good lighting, some great equipment, and like you shared with us, Deb, it doesn't have to be expensive. Just
No.
knowing how to use it raises that confidence to show up online. If you've got some great little tips and tricks, which you share with us. So I feel like that's been a game changer for me too, is having that knowledge. So when I do show up, I am proud of what I've produced.
Mm.
So I would
I
say
love
that's
I love
probably
that yeah, no, I love that you brought up about filters, because it can be a bit of a touchy point for some people. And again, I just think if that helps you show up, you do you.
yeah.
And I also, there's a difference with filters though. Can I just say, like, there is, like, on TikTok, there's a bold glamour filter. And, for playing around, I test out things, right? And I'm looking at it, I'm just like, that is so not me. And when I see other creators, like, I look, so different. And I'm like, but when I see other creators with that filter on, I'm like, wow, what do they really, really look like? It changes my face so, so much. Now, I use a filter on Instagram, and it's called Subtle Filter, and I've shared that with our group. And the reason why I use that one is because it just enhances your lighting as opposed to changing your face of your body, your features of your face. And why I think that helps me show up is because I know that actually, I was listening to a podcast with Elizabeth Hurley, beautiful Elizabeth Hurley. They were talking about how beautiful she is and everything. She goes, yeah, but cameras have changed so much. Like, our phone cameras are so high definition, right? So she goes, in film, the lighting is so beautiful. Of course, you're going to look so much better. But when you are holding up your phone camera, these are so high def, she said, that it's going to show up every single little perceived flaw, and it's going to enhance it even more because of these phones. And I went, that's a really interesting perspective, because what we're seeing is emphasized as well with our phones. And that's why that little subtle filter that I share with you is, it's going back to cinematography. If I may not have the perfect lighting, I can use that to help soften the things, right? As opposed to have it amplified. You know what I mean? So, but it was a really interesting thing that she was saying of, like, show up but do what you've got to do. Acceptance is also a big thing of going, yes, you still need to go, this is still me. This is still me. I've still got wrinkles, I've still got the chin or all the things, but I'm going to enhance it the best way I can without it changing who I am as well. So I don't know.
And that's the
You do you,
lighting.
though.
And I think that's back to great production almost, which is the lighting, which does change everything. It does just raises the level of your video, or raises the level of your presentation, or whatever your podcast, whatever you're doing. So use it. I'm all
You look
for
good,
it.
you feel good, right? And that's the thing, is that you can get to your best version of you. Interesting, yesterday's session that we had, I was doing a demonstration video of how to use different camera movements, and I went outside and filmed the same shot, but it was middle of the day. The wind was blowing and the sun was in the absolutely, like, you never film in the middle of the day outside, right? It's just, don't do it. And when I look at the videos, and I was uploading it today, I was like, damn, that looks pretty rough, Deb. It's like, and that's about lighting as well. It's like, when you have good lighting, that's why they call it the golden hour with filming, is because it makes you look golden. Like, it makes you look beautiful, which you are anyway. But lighting definitely has a lot to answer for sure.
I enjoyed that session yesterday, Deb, with those angles. And even this morning when I did a little bit of filming for a reel, those little tips that you share brilliant. Because
Oh,
often
wow.
when you're a content creator and you're capturing things, you often, well, I will speak for myself, I feel like I'm capturing the same thing and how could I make this look different? But those little tweaks that you shared yesterday were like, it just up levels things. And I feel like
Mm.
that's been one of my favorite things working for you, apart from you're an incredibly wise
Oh,
woman. But just the tips that you've given have just help up level all of those things that we already do. And that makes you confident to show up because you
yeah.
know that you've got a few little tricks in your bag. It's interesting. You don't feel like it's like, oh God, blah, blah, same, same. It's like, no, I've got some great tools here that can enhance
Mhm.
my message. So thank
Yeah.
you, Deb. You've been
Oh,
tremendous for
you're
education.
welcome. Thank you. Thank you for
Mhm.
that feedback. To wrap up, the two things I hear from women in particular about showing up on camera is I hate the way I sound and I
Mm.
hate the way I look in camera. And as a transformational coach about, embodying me, what would you say to those women?
Self-compassion. A little bit of self-compassion is needed. A lot of self-compassion is needed. And it is tricky if you don't like the sound of your voice. And I have worked with someone who didn't like the sound of their voice. And the line of questioning was, I said, "Do you think you sound like someone?" She said, "Yeah, I sound like my sister and my mum." I said, "Do you not like the way they sound?" And she said, "Well, no, I just don't like the way I sound." I said, "Well, you sound like them." So it's realizing that again, how we think we're perceived, we're not. And often it's
Mhm.
a little story, or sometimes there's a belief. There was another woman that I worked with around her singing voice, and she remembered when she was just a child in the choir, the teacher
Mm.
stood near her and said, "Who's singing out of tune?" And then she would mime. And she said, "Only now that I look back and I think about that," she said, "the teacher never said my name. I just made that about me. All she said
Wow.
was someone singing out of tune." And she automatically thought, "Well, that's me." And it wasn't. She said, "I don't know if it was or it wasn't," but she made it about her. So get
Gosh.
curious around why you don't like your voice. Is there
Mhm.
somebody that sounds like you? And did you make a story up? Was there a comment made and then you made a story up? Because it comes from somewhere. So get curious about that. And
Mhm.
then showing up on camera, I really do feel it's your words, Deb. I'm going to take your words. It's the courage to
Mm.
confidence. I think that's the best advice. It's
Mm.
keep doing it, keep showing up, but get educated.
Yeah.
Get those little tips that you believe are going to make you look your absolute best.
Yeah.
So I guess it's around the education and tools to help you
Yeah.
then show up, or use a filter. Like we've said, a filter is a good thing,
It's all
but the
part of your
mindset,
toolbox, isn't it? Right?
yes, but the mindset is definitely worth working on.
Mm.
Otherwise, we will just stay stuck, and that's kind of different for everyone, whatever that mindset is. And there's 1,000 tools that we could probably share, but that's part of the work is
Yeah.
getting curious around that, and either
Wow.
working with someone like yourself or a coach just to help you get curious around that mindset and how
Yeah.
bad do you want it? Are you willing to move through it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Think of that end result of who you can help and who you serve. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all these wonderful insights. I've really enjoyed our chat today. Emma, how can people find you?
Best place is Instagram, and it's
Mhm.
Emma_Walkinshaw on
Mhm.
Instagram. And everyone's welcome to join the Morning Magic group
Mhm.
on Facebook if they would like. So that's
Yep.
21 minutes of morning magic, and it's
Mhm.
21 minutes of morning magic in Facebook.
Amazing.
So come and join.
It's
Yes, if
amazing.
you.
I love it so much. We'll put all those details in the show notes. Congratulations on your book. I can't wait to get my copy. And I really appreciate your time today, Emma. Thank you so, so much. Mwah.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks, Deb.